Vinicius Jr. is re-signing with Real Madrid. We found that out yesterday. I just thought I would give myself a little bit of time to talk about it, to think about it before I made a video. And yeah, I'm going to be talking about, Vinny and Madrid for a little bit, but I'm more so going to focus on Arsenal and where we can go, because this was my biggest worry with this whole situation. I would have absolutely loved us to sign him, don't get me wrong, but I didn't really think it was ever going to happen. Like, there was a period where I'm like, maybe, but I was always leaning towards Vinny will stay, and I was worried that the market just doesn't really leave us with many options, or at least many options that are a perfect alternative, because I think Vinny would have been the perfect player to sign for Arsenal. Everyone's already talked about that enough. But yeah, so it was Fabrizio Romano that broke the news. He's been very quiet in this whole situation. He made a statement like, I think, 7 hours before, saying that he was verging on a new deal, and then he confirmed as saying that Vinny signed a new deal. Real Madrid went and confirmed it. I guess I could find their confirmation on here somewhere. Well, they just announced Diamande as well, so yeah, they made a compilation. I've got it here. Like, they've been posting a lot. He went and did this whole thing where he deleted all of his posts off Instagram, and everyone thought that meant he was, gonna stay or gonna leave. Sorry, but nah, I didn't really buy any of that. But yeah, here's the announcement: Vinny Jr. signs a new extension till 2032, which, fair play to him. He handled this position, or his situation, the best he could have handled it. I mean, he basically, I'm not going to say he used us, because I actually do think there was a world where he was going to come. I do think if Real Madrid didn't fold and, offer him this new contract, I don't think it was, an instance of whoever breaks first. I do genuinely think he was contemplating leaving. It's just that he always wanted to stay at Real Madrid, and Real Madrid always wanted to keep him. So when those two things are true, you can pretty much guarantee that they're going to find a solution, and they did. Real Madrid never wanted to give him that contract, but they gave it to him. They gave him the contract that he wanted. So, you know what? Fair play. He got his deal. Obviously, look, in general, it's a good, it's a good decision from Madrid. It's a very good, I guess, signing, giving him that extension, because he's one of the best players in the world. And when you have the best left winger in world football, in my opinion, that's up for debate, but one of the best wingers in the world, and he's at your football club, you would rather keep him at your football club than lose him. So in terms of just in isolation, it's a good signing. And I'm going to make another video where I go a bit more in depth in Real Madrid and the destination, or in the direction, sorry, that they're going in this summer, because I actually do have some thoughts on that around another saga, which that video will be focused around. But there are a few things that I'm concerned about. As for Vinny, as I said, he got his new deal, the deal that he wanted. He now believes he is as valued as he should be. Even though the package wasn't as good as the one Arsenal offered, it was never really about that. It was just about getting something adequate from Madrid, and he got it. So, yeah, fair play. But now moving on to Arsenal, because, look, I'm not going to sit here and bash the club or anything, because I can't sit here and say, how dare we not get Vinny Jr., because that would be so unfair. And it would be ridiculously arrogant, because this isn't a player that Arsenal should ever really be in talks with. But I've got to just say fair play to the club for this whole situation, for putting for putting our cards on the table, for actually bringing together a package that would be able to entice a player like this, for agreeing at all levels, because that was the first thing we heard from this. It was approved at all levels, every single level at the club, whether it was the owners, whether it was Arteta, whether it was the board, every single person decided that this would be a good deal. And it shows that we actually have the financial ability and the willingness to do so. Because, you know, over the last couple years, because our left wing position has been so dead, whether it, like, not journalists, but overall fans have floated the idea of, you know, imagine if we went for Vinicius Jr. If he was ever available, we should be one of the clubs going for him. Sorry, Doctor. And the one thing that held me back wasn't even that Vinny would never come to Arsenal. Because I do think that there is a world where he falls out with Real Madrid, he's available to be signed by someone else, and we sign him. Like, that could happen. It didn't happen this time, but I do think there is a world where Vinny Jr. decides that he wants to leave Real Madrid and he goes to Arsenal. It was more so, would we be willing to sign a player of that quality? Or not of that quality, but all the other stuff, you know, with the wages, the transfer fee, the ego he has. Because, yes, Vinny does have an ego. He's a very egotistical player. And I think that for players of his quality, like, you need an ego. Like, you need to believe in yourself. You need to back yourself. And it seems like that is just a type of player that Arteta would never want to work with. You know, he likes players who are more focused on making the team tick rather than themselves, who put others ahead of themselves. And look, this isn't me trying to criticize Vinny in any way, but I never thought that this would be a type of player we'd go for. Plus the financial aspects of it. We have a very severe wage. We have a very, you know, what's the word? I can't think of it now, but like a wage structure that we always hold the squad to. We're never really willing to break that wage structure to go and sign a player. You know, Saka, it took him years and years of service at Arsenal to earn his contract of 300 grand a week, and Vinny makes way more than that. Like, I don't know exactly how big his new deal is, but he makes significantly more than Saka does. And then transfers, I mean, Declan Rice is our record signing for 100 million, but other than that, what big money signings have we really made? None. So I never really thought that Arsenal would go in for a player like this, and we showed that if there is another player of Vinny Jr.'s quality over the next few years that becomes available for whatever reason, whether it's contract or whether the club wishes to sell him, we will be, or at least we have shown that we potentially will be, one of the clubs that are there, willing to join any bidding war, anything. We will be one of the clubs there. Look, we don't know exactly how much Arsenal would have been willing to offer to sign him in terms of, you know, a bid, because that it never got to that stage since, you know, he re-signed. But I assume that we would have put a lot of money forward, because, I mean, why would you even approach the player if you were never going to go all in for him? But yeah, that's just my thoughts. I'm disappointed that it didn't go through, even though I never thought it was going to. But yeah, that is just my overall thoughts. Now, as for alternatives, Arsenal obviously need to bolster our attack. Like, everyone knows this. We all knew Zolis wasn't enough. We need another forward player now. I don't necessarily think that has to be a left winger. If we sign other players, other profiles that could fit into our team and overall make our attack significantly better, I'm fine with that. I think a left wing is the easiest because we know exactly where they slot into the team. We don't have to change the whole dynamics of our attack. But I just think that we just in general need a forward player. So what I've done is I've taken every player that might be on the market, that we could be interested in, that we've been linked in, that we could potentially be linked in, that's future at their club might be, you know, up for question. I've taken all of those players that I could think of, and I've made a tier list based off how much I would want Arsenal to sign them. So here it is. I'll move my face cam out of the way. Here it is. The tiers, we've got elite, excited, accept, pass, please no. Elite is like the best of the best, do anything you can to sign them. Excited is exactly what it sounds like. If we sign that player, I would genuinely be like properly hyped. Accept, again, not the players I'd want to go for. Pass, but I would, I'd be able to accept it, even though they're not really someone I would want us to sign. Pass is, for one reason or another, I don't think we should do it. And then there's one player that I would genuinely protest if we signed. Now look, there are more players that I probably didn't think of that would fit in any of these categories. Maybe I don't think that there's ever a chance they'll be available. Look, I'm not saying all these players are available, by the way. I will get into that. I'll go individually one by one at who I'd want to sign. I'll start from the bottom up. We'll get more and more positive. Pedro Neto. There are zero links to Pedro Neto whatsoever. But he is currently linked with a move to Manchester City. And because he is a Chelsea player, and we haven't signed a player from Chelsea yet, if there was a Chelsea forward that's available, I could just see us signing him. And I could see Manchester City growing some sense, and on deadline day, Arsenal have agreed to sign Pedro Neto for £80 million. And it would be an absolute disgrace. You think I was upset at Madueke? This would be a completely different story. Genuinely, I would be I'd lose my shit. I would absolutely lose my shit. I would hate watch him every single week. Yeah, please no. Now we get to pass. Now I actually really like all three of these players, but I just wouldn't sign them. And we'll start with Rodrigo. Rodrigo's a player that I desperately wanted us to sign a year ago, because he had not the best season at Madrid, but he had still been playing well. It looked like he was potentially going to move. They ended up keeping him. And Arsenal were never really one of the clubs that were going in for him. I know he was linked to Liverpool at one point, but nothing really happened there because Rodrigo ultimately didn't want to leave, and Real Madrid didn't want to sell him unless he was going to force a move. Now, I would love Rodrigo at Arsenal. And in January, this guy could move from a pass all the way up to excited. The only thing is he's injured. He's out until January, so I don't really see the point in signing a player who is injured and wouldn't be able to impact us until the second half of the season. If we revisit this, say we don't sign anyone, or the guy we do sign doesn't really work out, if we revisit this in January, he could move up. And it's the same with Krupi. I was absolutely begging for us to go in for Krupi at the start of the window, but he got an injury. I don't know exactly what his injury is. Let me have a look. It was a long-term injury. I think he'll be back around when Rodrigo was back. Nothing on FotMob. Krupi injury. Metatarsal foot injury. Alright, so he just injured his foot. And it's the same reason for Rodrigo. The reason they're not pleased now is because I actually would love them, but they're just injured. Now Rashford, the reason I put Rashford in pass is just because stylistically I don't think he really fits what we need. I think Rashford gives us a lot of good things, which is why I haven't put him in please no. He's a great ball striker. He's got pace. We've seen him at his best. He is an excellent player. But I don't think we really need an inside forward type player on that left side. I think we need more of a touchline winger, and all these other wingers are creators, are good dribblers, can make things happen from out wide, whereas Rashford, just stylistically, he's not the type of player we need, which is why I've got him in pass. But I am a big fan of Rashford. If he leaves United, I hope he does very, very well wherever he goes. If he stays at United, I hope he doesn't. But yeah, Rashford, good player. And maybe if we sign two forward players, if we sign you know, a striker who can drop deep and get the rest of our forwards involved, if we sign a wing back who can hold the width and let players go in, then maybe I'll change. But for now, assuming we're only going to sign one more actual like first team player, or one more player who is going to be competing for a starting spot, I would not want Rashford. Now to accept, these are players who I see the qualities that they offer us, but I would be a little bit underwhelmed if we signed them. And we'll start with Rayan. Personally, I don't think we will go in for Rayan, just because he's a left-footed, right-sided player, which we have in abundance. So I don't really see what would change. It would be probably Madueke moved to more of a left winger. I feel like I should put him in pass. The only reason he's not in pass is because I actually think if we did sign him, he would quickly overtake Madueke as Saka's backup, and he'd be a very good squad player. But I don't really see this one being very realistic. It's just that we've been linked to him here and there. I feel like Liverpool would make more sense for him because they need a right-sided forward. And yeah, preferably him and Krupi should stay a whole another season at Bournemouth and develop. Like, I actually do think that the Krupi injury will end up being a good thing for him. Whilst it obviously will stunt his development a little bit, I think it will be better to just have another season at Bournemouth. Whereas if he was fit, he would definitely be leaving. Rafael Leao. Obviously, this guy is a great talent. When he's on it, is an excellent player, great dribbler, can create, can score goals here and there. Actually had a pretty good goal scoring season for Milan last year. He's just way too inconsistent. And the only reason I have him in accept, not pass, is because he's a Serie A player, which means we will be able to get him ridiculously cheap. Like, compared to the amount of money we'll have to pay for all these players here, maybe not Nusa, but for everybody else on this list pretty much, like, he will be half the price that Ryan would be. Ryan would go for 100 million. Leao would probably be like 40 to 50 million because he's in the Serie A and because they don't have the cheek to ask for ridiculous fees. So Rafael Leao for like 50 million, I mean, I'd accept it because there's a lot of upside, but I would feel pretty underwhelmed. Ndiaye. I feel like Ndiaye is similar in the sense of he doesn't have that consistency, and the thing is he probably would be a lot more money than Leao. But I could just see Arteta getting the most out of him. I don't think Arteta would like Leao as much because he has the worst work rate I've seen out of any winger. Whereas I think Ndiaye, he plays in a position that Arteta would really, really appreciate in this squad. A wide forward who can just beat his man, get his teammates into the game. That's what he tries to play Martinelli as, but we just don't have a forward that is effective enough in that profile. He can keep the ball. He can make things tick. I think he would be a great signing, but he doesn't move me to that next level because, look, I don't want to say because he's at Everton, but because he hasn't really proven himself at any top level. So, yeah, it's accept for me. Nico Williams in accept as well. Maybe you could argue he would excite me. I'm not as high on this guy as everyone else is. His output isn't there. And look, to be fair, Ndiaye doesn't have crazy output either, which is, I mean, they're on the same tier, so they're pretty similar. I think they're very similar players, except Williams, he'd probably be a bit better for Arsenal than Ndiaye in terms of he's got flair. I just would demand more output from Nico Williams because I don't think he's as good as getting people into the game. I don't think he's as good at keeping the ball. He's good at making stuff happen with it, but I feel like he'll lose the ball a little bit more than Ndiaye would, and I don't know if he'd be able to reach that output. Again, he's in accept, so I'd be willing to give it a go. I'd be willing to take a gamble, sign him. I don't think he's going to be available anyway, but if he was to be available and we were to sign him, again, it wouldn't be the most exciting signing, but I'd be all good with it. Now, Jamal Musiala in excited. This is not a player that's available, but I just have a feeling that this might be a story, either this window or potentially in January, or at latest next summer. I think within the next year, Jamal Musiala could end up being a story because he fell out of favour with Company. He only started playing because Serge Gnabry got injured, and he didn't have a very good season at all. And I could see Bayern potentially looking to move him on, or maybe not looking to move him on, but him asking for a move and Bayern not too upset to let him go. And I just think that that is an absolute tap-in for everyone. Like, if this guy's available, you sign him, you bring him into your team and you make it work. And whilst he's not a left winger, I think it would change the dynamics of the team, but I just think he gives us so much. Like, he is just such an excellent talent. On the ball, he's a joke. Like, his ability to dribble in tight spaces will be so good whenever we come up against low blocks. He can link up play. He can find our forwards. He is just an excellent talent. And I think we would see, like, Eze be a pretty much permanent left winger, and that would be the same with a couple other players on this list. But I mean, this would get me so excited. Jamal Musiala to Arsenal. The only reason he's not an elite is because of the season he's had, and because I don't think he's as good a fit as those other two. Antonio Nusa would get me excited as well. Great talent. The only reason he maybe should probably be moved down to accept is because of the injury issues. But I didn't want that to be the reason. Like, I didn't want he's injury prone to be the reason I'm not excited, because I think what he would offer us is exceptional. He can create a moment out of nothing. He can be his man consistently. He can do everything we need from a left winger to a high level. And the reason he's above Nico Williams is because I think he'd be cheaper. And I also think he has shown me a little bit more than Nico Williams has. Like, for Spain, Nico Williams is great, but at club level, I feel like he's a bit better. The goal, similar to Nico Williams, the goals aren't really there, but I think he would score more goals for us, and I think he'd get more goals out of everyone else. So that's why I've got him there. Now, Endrick would be unreal. Endrick is such a quality player. Like, he's very similar profile to Alvarez, just a bit more raw, not as complete, where he's a great goal scorer. His ball striking is excellent, but then he can also drop deep, link up play, and he's just so tidy. I think he would be the type of player that Arteta would want. The only thing is he doesn't have the aerial ability that Havertz has. He is the type of striker that Arteta would start every single week. Like, he would be excellent for Arsenal. I would absolutely love this signing. It would make me so excited. But Alvarez and Barcola are the two, man. They're the two. If we don't get Barcola, go all in for Alvarez. If we don't get Alvarez, go all in for Barcola. One of these two would instantly make our window a 9 out of 10. Barcola, he's the perfect profile we need. He's everything I've said about all these other wingers on steroids. The guy's an absolute beast. Deep fries his man. And his finishing, look, it's not great, but I think it has improved from last season. Obviously in the Champions League final it wasn't good, but I've seen him score some nice goals, and I think if he was able to get into those positions, Arteta would be able to get something out of him. And then Alvarez, I think, is probably the more realistic one, because Barcola is so heavily linked to Liverpool. I don't think either of them will happen, I'll be real. I think we'll have to go for another option on this list. But I just think Alvarez is so good. He would, if we had this is where I could imagine Calafiori stays wide a bit more. He plays a player like Eze on the left wing to just be an inside forward. He more platforms his left winger to be more of an inside forward. Alvarez drops deep, links play with the likes of Martin Odegaard, and we just get a very fluid attack. His ball striking is a joke. He's a joke from free kicks as well. Yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer for me. A no-brainer. But yeah, we'll see if anything, if any development comes from those players. But yeah, tell me what you think about these guys down below. I'm very disappointed at the whole Vinny situation, despite the fact that I didn't think we'd get him. But yeah, Vinny extends at Real Madrid. We've got some business to do.